Good evening, everyone. How are we all doing? There's that much stuff here, notes and stuff. It's like Fort Knox. Um, how are we all doing? So finally the whole shebang is over. Thankfully, thanks be to God, because I think the whole country was going to go mad if it went any longer. Hello, Sean. Just you're on the ball. So we finally have all the fucking shit done for the day. Excuse my language, but the whole lot's over with. Thankfully, there's a lot to talk about. We'll be here for the next 7 months talking about it all. But the long story is Catherine Connolly has won. Simple as she's won by a historic margin. I just looked at the day, you know, and in fairness to Catherine Connolly, I do wish her well and stuff like that. Or even though I spoiled my vote and stuff, I still wish her well in the office of work done in the hearing. She bet Eamon De Valera's record, just to say. So she pretty much is in Irish history now go down as the most, and then Jim Gavin, there's about 400,000. We get to that, don't worry. But I just want to briefly touch on that because it is historic too. The 1959, Sean, Eamon De Valera got 56.3% of the vote. Catherine Connolly's got 63.4% of the vote. So she bet Eamon De Valera. Yeah, that too. But she's still done well to get that too. That's historic. But obviously, as you just said there, the big talking point. Imagine the media never said anything about spoiling your vote until now. Before that, there was not a peep from the media about people spoiling their votes. All of a sudden now they're like, oh, people are spoiling their votes. Like it's a surprise to them. They didn't know this was happening. But yeah, and as you said, half of the people, so a lot of people didn't turn up. But we have that all. Like there's so much. Like we probably be like there's a lot to digest here because the whole system has just been shocked to the core by people spoiling the votes, people not turning up, and the whole system is just rocked to the core, which is a great thing because it's just it's kind of just just demolish the system. Not even Catherine Connolly's election; it's just people rejecting the system, and it's asking very difficult questions of our politicians. So as you say, it's 207. What was it? Sorry, I had to get my fucking thing. Where am I? So I wrote loads of notes and different things during the day. I think I might have it here. It might be somewhere else. There's that many bloody notes. There's too much. It might be on the other side. Yeah, as you say, it's 217 or so. Yeah. So that's about 13% of the vote. That's what it is. 13, about 13%. Jim Gavin got 103,000 votes. Which is insane, but a lot of people probably were spoiling the votes. But it shouldn't. Jim Gavin shouldn't have been on the ballot, and he should have been taken off the ballot when he pulled out of it. But he got 103,000 votes, which is insane too for a candidate that pulled out. I'm sure you would agree that's an awful lot. But a lot of people wanted to spoil the votes, of course, voting for Jim Gavin. But some people were serious. So, like there was some Fianna Fáil voters that were serious. But it's quite insane. Like the whole list of counties and stuff with spoiled votes, it just goes on and on and on. Like it's insane amount. Like it's quite mad. But yeah, so there's a lot to talk about for the next few days. So the whole turnout in the country was 1.6 million, and obviously spoiled votes 200,000, give or take, within Jim Gavin. So about 1.3 of 1.4 million people voted, which is obviously a lot of people didn't vote, of course, but still a lot of people too when you really think of it. So are we happy, Sean? Because pretty much they got the biggest kick of the whole ever. Like pretty much it's a very historical low turnout. And not to mention two people like it's the biggest spoiling of the votes in the Irish, probably in any election. Like usually it's around 1% of spoiled votes, people making mistakes and stuff on the ballots and stuff. But yeah, fair enough, it's not 1%, it's 13%, which is an insane amount. 13% of the electorate told them to go pretty much in the nicest possible terms, go fuck themselves. That's the way kind of people put it to them. Will there be lessons learned and will the government listen? That's another question. But I say they will listen because I don't think they're going to know it, unfortunately. But yeah, so it's been absolutely mad. I'm delighted that everything is finally over. To be totally honest. But pretty much, it's said for the last few days that Catherine Connolly was up in the polls, etc. So it was no surprise. that she won, and particularly with young people, she absolutely demolished young people. That sounds a bit dangerous. No, not that way. But yeah, it's quite insane. Like, in literally, I'm just looking at it here. Like, every news article from abroad, CNN, etc., all talking about the spoil votes. So it quite literally has gone viral because I never heard of it in my life in any country, in the UK and Spain or other countries, that 200,000 people went out personally to go and spoil their ballot. And I think the biggest shock for the establishment, because I even heard people saying it to me before the election. Like, listen to this for a second. Before the election, when I made that video about 3 weeks ago saying I was going to spoil my vote, I had people in my comment section say, "Why the fuck would you bother going down to spoil your vote? What does it solve? Nobody will care, etc., etc." Only about 5 people will spoil their votes. Nobody's going to go to the effort, and the government thought the same, and the media thought the same, that nobody would be bothered to go down and spoil the vote. Like, nobody would be asked to go down. Unfortunately, that hit them very hard in the mouth. Yeah, pretty much. I do think they should have included that. So if you add that in, it's good. Hello, Jay. How do you say JT? I think it is. How are you doing? Good evening. Hope we're well. There's 105 things going on, so just bear with me. There's a lot of stuff going on at the moment. But yeah, I do think Jim Gavin, like, they had time to take his name off the ballot, but they are counted as valid votes. But I do think a lot of people got confused. And I will say, Sean, I think a lot of people got confused over Jim Gavin. They thought if you voted at all for Jim Gavin, like, say, for example, I went down now during the election and voted number 1, thinking I was spoiling my vote. Like, some people were confused. But still, I think they should have been added to the spoil votes, because a lot of people probably done it and didn't realize they wouldn't spoil in the votes. But sure, it didn't matter. It didn't matter, and it's a huge kick up the hole regardless. Anyway, they can't really say, "Oh, it's 103,000 for Jim Gavin, take for example," but there's 200,000 people spoiled the vote, and then a lot of people didn't bother to turn up the vote. So it's a big kick up the hole regardless of the 100,000 for Jim Gavin. It's a huge kick up the hole for them. Like, whatever way you look at it, it's a massive kick up the hole. Like, it's on an industrial scale, kick up the hole. Like, in industrial, like, quite literally an industrial scale, something that's never been seen probably in Europe. Like, I can never think of any election I've ever heard of that had 200,000 spoiled votes. But there's a lot of questions that's been raised about this. But we'll be talking about it for the next. I'll probably make videos talking about it, like, in detail, my detailed thoughts and different things. But obviously, I'm probably going to get the blame in Cavan for the spoiled votes. And we'll talk about all the counties. So I have a whole list here. I just get there's a website. There's a good website too that shows it, just in case my figures and stuff are wrong. Like, I basically Google-eyed it because I was pretty much looking at this all day. Pity. But what the fuck am I trying to say? Just give me a second. Just get this, what I want. A lot of people, I think, are just fucking delighted it's over. So yeah, it was something else. But yeah, so basically, I'll show you what I'm looking at too in a second. But Heather Humphrey's only won one constituency. Catherine only basically won every other constituency apart from Cavan and Monaghan, my constituency. But pretty much what carried Heather Humphreys and Cavan and Monaghan was Monaghan, pretty much. It's not so much Cavan. There's a lot to be talked about. Like, there's more stuff to be talked about. But apparently down the country so much on. I don't know if you heard this, but somebody put, like, shit in the ballot, like human shit. Lovely stuff. Even though it's a bit disgusting. I feel bad for the people who had to kind of count the ballots. They shouldn't have to deal with that. Whatever. I don't think that was right. If that makes any sense, I don't mind people spoiling the vote, but I think that was a bit too far from that kind of stuff. So here we are. So this website's very good, Ardent Votes. If you want to have a look at it, it's really, really good. So as you can see, this is the whole country. As you can see here, Cavan Monaghan, Heather Humphreys won. But Cavan and Monaghan, there were 6,400 spoiled votes. That's the biggest ever in Cavan and Monaghan. There's never been as many. 10% of the vote was spoiled. Like, quite literally took them so long to count it was insane. So, but Head of Hope is basically done very well in Cavan, with mostly in Monaghan. You can see in Donegal, like the amount of people that have spoiled their votes, and particularly down here, just when we look at it. Like, this is to do with spoiled votes. Like, you see this. Like, look at just in Cavan, take for example. There was a 689% increase in spoiled votes. Like, when you look down here, Mead West, like, look at all this. Like, look at this. Like, look at the numbers of just increase in spoiled votes since 2018. And this is to do with the turnout. So you can see in Cavan, the turnout actually went up. More people in Cavan decided to go and vote for whatever reason. Mainly, I say it was in Monaghan more. It doesn't give a detailed breakdown what county it is, but I presume that was in Monaghan. But you can see that pretty much Cavan was the only place where people came out in droves. Increased small, but Cavan increased by 13%. And Monaghan, of course. Mayo was down a bit. But yeah, it's a good website to look at. But yeah, like quite literally, some of these figures, like if you look at Laois, like it's insane. Hello, everyone. How are we doing? No bother, everyone. It's been a busy day. We're talking about a lot. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. Hello, Brian. Boone, how are you doing? An annual election for once. Oh, I don't know about an annual election. I wouldn't want one every year. Jeez, people get sick of that. But there has to be some change. I don't know if you know, but there's 213,000 spoiled votes. I don't even think there's ever been that in all of Europe. Like, if we look at the whole European continent, I never heard of an election of 200,000 people going to spoil the vote. And then half of the electorate, like half of the people that are registered to vote, didn't vote. Like, they didn't go to vote at all. So pretty much half of the country either spoiled the vote or didn't vote. So there's a queer message behind that. And, there has to be kind of something done to change that, because the establishment can't really ignore that. They can't really push it under the rug. Even though the media are doing their best, they're working overtime at the moment to try and spoil the whole lot. Yeah, they're just trying to push it under the carpet. But yeah, no, it's historic. It's historic. There's no doubt about it. Like, as I said in Cavan, there was 6,000 spoiled votes. 6,000. Yeah, that was Garrett Sheridan, I think. They were saying about bringing in those like the digital IDs and stuff. Hello, Greenface. How are you doing? I think it was Garrett Sheridan, the candidate, the pharmaceutical tycoon. I think that's what he said. He said something about the government ID. I think that was who it is, because I've seen a bit online about it, but there was that much people talking. It's quite insane. But yeah, so Head of Hub was only one constituency, my constituency here. My constituency belongs to me. But give me a second, just for 2 seconds. But I just want to briefly go through some figures and facts and stuff. Just want to talk about Roscommon and Galway. Like, Roscommon and Galway, there was 3,745 spoiled votes, which is 12.1% of the vote. Galway West was 4,422, 8.7% of the vote. Dublin went down 2,600. Dublin went down, had the smallest number of people spoiling their vote. Wicklow, Waterford had 4,100. Like, it just goes on and on. Limerick County, 4,200. Limerick City, 4,049, 13% of the vote. Donegal had, I think Cavan and Monaghan and Donegal had the biggest amount of spoiled votes, because Donegal was 6,400. So quite a lot. Sligo, Leitrim doesn't exist, but apparently 4,800 people decided to go and spoil their vote in Leitrim, even though it doesn't exist. So it's a difficult task. Just 1 second. Dublin Bay North. I just want to talk about Dublin Bay North, because it was 7,100. I think that's the highest in the country, 7,100. I don't know if there's any higher than that. Like, that's insane. 7,000 people had to spoil the vote. It's mad to say. Like, a few years ago, I would have said that was impossible. But it's like, I don't think the government ever imagined that people would go out and spoil the votes. Like, people would go to the effort to spoil the votes. People like myself too. Cork Southwest. This is 3,500. Lockford Westmeath was a lot. It was 6,000 spoiled votes in Lockford Westmeath. 15% of the vote. insane amount of spoiled votes in such a small counties too. Tipperary North, 3,000, nearly 4,000. Tipperary South, 3,000. Laois too was insane. 4,000 people in Laois went out to spoil the vote. 14.6% of the vote. Like in some parts of rural Ireland, the people got mad just buying the votes. Cork North Central, this is Micheál Martin's constituency. 6,200 people went out to spoil the vote in Micheál Martin's constituency. Meath West, 4,500 people went to spoil the votes. It just goes on and on. Dublin, Fingal West, 3,100. It just goes on and on. I'm just reading it out because the numbers are like there's literally the only one I've seen that's the lowest was 2,000 something, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Dublin went down 2,600. That's the lowest. So literally in every other constituency in the country, it was over 2,000 pretty much. Apart from that one, at least as far as I'm aware. I think it has. Yeah, it was pretty much over 2,000. Like over 2,000. That's the lowest. So pretty much in every constituency in the country, all 43, there was over 2,000 people spoiling the votes, which like a few years ago that would have been mad to say because literally at most in general elections and local elections etc it's about maybe 1% people mistakenly put number ones twice or something like that. But Cork East was 4,600. Loud was insane. Loud had 7,700. 16% of the vote was spoiled. In Offaly, two people were mad. 4,800 spoiled votes. Cork South Central, 4,900 votes. Dublin West, 4,400. Dublin Southwest, 7,500. 14% of the vote. Dunleary, 3,400. Like it just went on and on and on and on. Like it's quite literally insane. Like even just looking on social media, you knew it was going to be big. Dublin Midwest, 7,200. Mayo, 6,300. Kildare North, 4,900. Wicklow, 5,600. Like it's insane. Kerry, 7,100. Cork Northwest, 3,900. Galway East, 5,200. Wexford, 4,500. Like it's mad. Dublin South Central, 5,500. Like insane. Like the lowest number was 2,600, just to say. What was Dublin Central? Dublin Central was the last one, 3,754. Like quite literally man numbers. Like I wonder what was the highest in the country. It's either between like definitely Loud. Yeah, definitely Loud has the highest, 7,000. Along with Donegal, Cavan, Monaghan. Yeah, Mayo too was high. So yeah, what do we take after all that? I'm delighted it's over because it's all just madness. But I'm delighted that loads of people came out to spoil the vote because it really kicked the government up the hole, kicked them up the arse, may I say. So it's about time they got to kick up the arse. They could do with a few more kickers up the arse. Yeah, there's just so much at the moment. Yeah, like it's insane. Like just looking at social media and stuff. Like there's no doubt about it that it is probably more than what they say, but so basically, all things can get all together. Catherine Conley got 63.4% of the votes, which is basically nearly a million votes, and Heather Huffy's got 29.5% of the votes, and the spoiled ballot was about 13% or so. The turnout was only about 45.8%, about 46%. Less than 50% of the country turned up to vote, pretty much what I'm trying to say. Because the whole electoral register for the presidency was 3 point something million. Yeah, it was 3 point something million that were eligible to vote. So only 1.4 million or so voted, and then people spoiled the votes too, of course. And then the votes for Jim Gavin and stuff, which is about 1.3, yeah, something like that. So 1.6 million, sorry. Valid votes, etc. But yeah, so it's something else. But pretty much this first thing this morning, it was pretty much certain that Catherine Conley would get it. Like just looking at the first few ballots that were open and stuff, it pretty much was guaranteed that it was going to be Catherine Conley, even though the spoiled votes were out in force. Um, you knew that she was probably going to win it, unfortunately, but somebody was going to win it, unfortunately. Even if so, only one person in the whole country voted. Uh, but yeah, uh, long old day. But at least I've been live for a good few hours today. Um, don't know why some comments go to the thing. But I don't know why they go to like you have to approve them and stuff like that. Doesn't make sense. But yeah, so it's been something else. But yeah, a huge victory for the Spoil Your Vote campaign. I'm probably going to get the blame in Cavan for for that kind of carry on. For encouraging people to spoil their votes, because kind of I did do that. So in fairness, to the local politicians, because I say they're giving a fuck about me, particularly in Cavan, a lot of the councillors, they're probably like, "Oh, this fucking bollocks," putting in people's minds. Because I did say it to 3 or 4 people. I was spoiling my vote and stuff. People I work with and stuff. Um, they would be pretty pissed. Like if they knew that pretty much I kind of encouraged a lot of people to spoil their votes in a way. Um, so I get the blame for all that in Cavan anyway. This Adrian Logan fellow was in trouble. But yeah. Yeah, like the best way was to spoil it. Like after I didn't directly say it on the live streams and stuff, but the best way after the election said and done, I didn't want to say to people, "You must do this or you must do that." But after it all, pretty much I would have said the best option for any citizen of this country was to spoil their vote, because it pretty much just give them a huge kick up the hole. It was a pity that there wasn't more. It would have been nice if we got another 200,000, but we would have been asking for a bit too much, I say. But yeah, they got a big kick up the hole. Like they really, really did. There's no doubt about it. Um, so something I have to give now, because 213,000 people is a lot of people. It's more than all the people in Cavan, Monaghan, Leitrim. Leitrim doesn't exist, but Westmeath and Lockford. Yeah, like they all have the media, particularly, is having a mental breakdown. Like the media literally going into full on mental breakdown. Like beforehand, they never even talked about people spoiling their vote. OT never talked about it for the last few weeks. And then this morning had to talk about it. They were kind of forced into it because they were like, "Oh, nobody's going to," like the media and the government were off this mindset that you and I, the people of Ireland, would not bother to go and vote. Would just stay at home, wouldn't spoil their vote. That's what they're relying on people to be lazy, pretty much, and not vote. Like go out and spoil their vote and stuff. Like they never thought, I never told, I don't think any of them conceived that the sheer number of people would go out and spoil their votes. And then not to mention the amount of people who just didn't go to vote. It doesn't add well for the country. It shows that people are very dissatisfied, very angry, very upset with the state of the country. Which I wouldn't blame anybody, because I'm the same. And then the people who didn't turn up too, they weren't happy. Yeah, we have to end about it. Yeah, it was mentioned. It was I could think OT mentioned. You know the way they had the thing in Dublin. Do you remember Nick Delahanty and stuff sat behind the desk? They talked about it for a few seconds, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, when they had the campaign for it, when they were starting the campaign. But it was only kind of 5 seconds. That was all it was on OT. Yeah, there was quite a bit of grip media, etc., but not mainstream media. What I'm saying, like, if people watching OT, be like, wouldn't even know, that there was a spoil your vote campaign. Say for example, older people that wasn't on social media, etc. Um, you know, yeah, I think it was a bit of everybody. Like, I think it was a bit of everybody. Um, a lot of people, first of all, were very upset with the candidates. And then obviously what happened in City West this week, Really, anybody that was going to vote probably were put off it a lot by what happened. Um, um, then not to mention other people too. People like myself, I suppose, you could blame too. Well, the government would blame me. They'll point to me and say I was the problem. Um, for like encouraging people to spoil their vote, I suppose. Like social media influences and stuff. That makes any sense. Political parties they get into too, pretty much encourage people to vote. Like Paddy Tobin pretty much spoiled his vote, which is insane to say about a party leader, but he done it. In fairness to him, Independent Ireland pretty much told people not to do it. You know, but in fairness, they done well. The Gwent media, like in fairness, they do. Like I'm sure you see it when Ben Scallon goes in to ask the government any questions, like any Helen McAtee or any of them. They all kind of don't want to talk to Ben Scallon. Like Ben Scallon has really upset them a lot. Like in fairness to the Gwent media, they've really like anytime Ben Scallon is around, none of them want to talk to Ben Scallon because he kind of just shows them up. Like they all kind of get terrified when Ben Scallon asks them questions. But in fairness, Gwent media helped a lot getting so many people out. Um, there's no doubt about Gwent media did help getting this many people out. Like they did play a part, including social media influence, like people like even smaller parties like the National Party, the Irish Freedom Party, other parties like that. Got people out. And like I seen a poster from the National Party. I didn't see it in Cavan, but I see it online. Like kicked them up the hole. I think pretty much what was it. And I think that helps a bit too. Like the smaller parties, trying to push it too. Oh, was this a while ago? Yeah, I think I remember that. Yeah, Evan Only. Yeah, he is a bit like I do with the editor. He's a bit too friendly with it Israel, but I suppose you have to be. Uh, we're not getting into all the specifics, but you kind of have to be in the modern world, unfortunately. If you want to be a company and stuff, you kind of don't. You can't really, uh, go against Israel. Especially if you want to do business in the United States and stuff, you have to kind of toe the line a bit. Which I've no other problem, but I only have an issue with the editor. But I wish, but yourself, it's only in my opinion, I suppose. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I was thinking it wasn't today, but remember that. But But in fairness, they do like in fairness that even the no campaign, like Grip Media pushed that heavily, and in fairness, they did do good work on that campaign too, because it was all up to the mainstream media. There wouldn't have been a hope of that succeeding if the mainstream media took a hold of that. But long story short, the main thing to say about the whole lot of it, the whole thing together, is that the government are scared shitless. There'll not be another referendum for a long time, first of all, after what happened with the no campaign, the yes, sorry. There'll never be a referendum again for a long time. And then not to mention there'll probably now not be a local Tory election or a general election for a long time either after what happened today. So there will be a by-election for Catherine Connolly's seat, I'm sure you know. So we have to see, that'll be sometime probably next year. So we see what happens. It's probably going to be a mad show, that by-election, but we see what happens. What people should do in that by-election is just spoil their votes. It'd be funny again, just another spoil your vote round. No, but he is a good reporter, Ben Scanlon. Like in fairness, he is, because you can see the fear in their eyes. Like I've often seen interviews of him interviewing different like politicians, and the fear in their eyes when they see Ben Scallon, because Ben Scallon could just ask them anything. And there's a few times where they just like the politicians literally train wreck themselves in what they said. Like Norma Foley, particularly, like he's tormented her. Like he's tormented Norma Foley. In fairness, like poor Norma Foley, there's often times he's asked Norma Foley questions, and the poor woman. I don't feel sorry for Norma Foley, but I feel sorry for Ben Scanlon having to be there to listen to Norma Foley's dribble. But he was generally driving her mad. If she cannot be any more madder, but But yeah, all good. It's a victory. I take it as a victory. Thomas Pringle. Do you know who I'm talking about? Um, I don't know if you know who I'm talking about. Anybody know who I'm talking about? He's an independent. He's from Donegal. Um, Basically, he called everybody far right for spoiling their vote. So a great way to start. And pretty much the majority of the left establishment, I heard Ivana Bacik saying about people being far right for spoiling their votes, etc., etc. So very good. Great way to get votes. You call everybody far right and call it a day then. Yeah, like calling everybody far right, like he actually did. Like he's actually shooting himself in the foot. Like literally calling half the people in Donegal, 6,000 people, far right. Like that's how many people spoiled their vote in Donegal, and he's literally sitting there and calling them far right. You know, so he's kind of shooting himself in the foot for the next election. And then not to mention around the country too, he's calling me and you far right for spoiling their vote. But the thing about it is that's the only way you're going to be listened to. Because imagine if none of us went out. Say if I didn't go out, or take for example, Aaron only said he did spoil his vote. Say for example, we went to work, we came home for work, we just sat in our house and done nothing. At least going out and spoiling your vote, give them a good fucking kick up the arse. And I think that's the main thing because it made more difference than us staying at home. Even though staying at home too still helped because taking it along with the spoiled votes is not a good. People weren't too optimistic about let's vote for democracy and freedom and the whole shebang. It didn't really resonate with a lot of people. But yeah, they're very shook. The whole lot's very shook. The whole establishment is shook. We should shake them again. Whenever there's another referendum and stuff, we need to shake them again. That's how it goes. We just need to keep teaching them a lesson. It's like that. It's like that episode in SpongeBob where how much longer do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? If anybody gets that meme, we just have to keep doing it. But in fairness to Catherine Conley, like she did achieve a good record. Like she bet Eamon De Valera's vote in 1959. She's basically got more votes this time than Eamon De Valera did in 1959. 63.4% of the vote was Catherine Connolly's votes. Eamon De Valera got 56.3%. But mainly how Catherine Connolly got the votes is because she went to the young people. She got basically nearly everybody who voted for Catherine Connolly was young college students that thought that I get a free house if I vote for Catherine Connolly. Like a lot of them didn't understand that the office of the president cannot do anything, a much idea. Have a picture captured, upload it to my community post. Oh no, you're going to upload something. You're going to post. I don't know. What do you call it? I can't think of it, but anyway. Share it onto my community post. You mean because there's an option you can share stuff on my community post now. I don't know how you do that, but I've seen it. I thought that was that, but no, it's not. It's something else. Sorry, give me a moment. But yeah, you can tag me in posts and stuff like that. Let me see. Sorry, just 110 things going on. There's like literally so much going on at the moment. Like this, my whole thing is just full of stuff. My whole thing is full of stuff. No, don't take that out of context. Yeah, let me see. Let's try and find. But it is an option. Like you've seen it on other YouTubers, I'm sure, that you can show it in the community post. I don't know how that works, but it works somehow. It just works. It's not how it would say. It just works. It just works. It just works. Vittu. Niin. Like on community page. I'm on your community page now. Oh, you mean the Miha Mountain thing? Yeah, we should all dress up as Miha Mountain and go to the polling station. That would be something. Let me see. Newsfeed, yeah. Oh, my newsfeed. You're talking about my newsfeed. Oh, you're talking about your community post because I'll show you what I'm looking at the moment. Like we say. So there's so much stuff on my screen, it's mad. Like so much notifications and stuff. It's quite mad. This is what I'm seeing. Moment I see like eyes and stuff shared a minute ago and stuff. I presume this is what you're talking about. Um, just check. What's these notifications? Oh, the other stuff. Right. Yeah, she would have got a lot. Like the amount of spoil votes and stuff, she would have got a lot. And probably the people that voted for Jim Gavin, she would have got a lot too. But it wasn't to be, unfortunate. But hopefully, they will have to change the system. Like whatever about anything else that happens after this election, they have to change the system in terms of the president for the next time, which is 7 years later. They have to change it. They have, like, they quite literally have. They've been forced to change it at this stage. Now they will have to have a constitutional referendum. They will have to have a referendum to change the constitution to say, for example, that every citizen can put the name forward to be president. Or take, for example, I don't know, they need the recommendations of, say, 5 politicians or something like that. Something like what the system is at the moment for the president is 20 politicians, 20 members of the Oireachtas, Dáil and Shannon. And it's a lot of people. Hello, Shisha, how are you doing? It's good to see you. Hope all's well. Yeah. I don't think Cork FM and stuff and the news talk is going to be doing well for the next few days. They're going to be a bit very upset over people spoiling the votes. So I look forward to that. The media, like RTE, are in a mental breakdown. Like RTE are having a mental breakdown at the moment. Like they're generally pulling their hair out. They can't understand why people didn't vote. Why people spoiled their vote. They can't understand it. It's a big mystery to them. Like I'm just looking at it here, like they're generally losing the plot, RTE, at the moment. They generally are sitting there gobsmacked that people actually went out and spoiled their vote. Like they were in shock because they were like, how did the people do this? We had them, set to vote for Heather Humphreys and Catherine Connolly. Because if you were listening to RTE, you wouldn't even know you could spoil your vote, to be honest. Before today, a public apology. I might have to, but so the media, you're going to hear a lot of far right this, far right that for the next few days. There's just going to be an onslaught of far right this and far right that. The far right done it, the extreme done it, everybody done it. The war extremists, etc. That's what you're going to hear from the media for the next few days. Just constantly for the next few days. Constantly. But yeah, so it is historic. Like it's the biggest spoiled the votes ever in history. Like there's never been any election in Irish history. So pretty much within the last few years, there's been the 2 biggest defeats in the referendums. And now the presidential election, first of all, it's the most historical election. A lot of people didn't turn up, first of all, to vote. And then the people who did turn up to vote spoiled their votes, 200,000 people. And then obviously Catherine Connolly too got the most votes at Dim and Devlera too. Because the majority of people did vote, like did cast a valid vote. Even though a spoiled vote is a valid vote too, like it's a protest vote. Oh, you're talking to Aaron only. I thought you were asking me. But if you ask my thoughts, there's a lot to talk about. I make loads of videos talking, particularly in each detail. But what needs to happen right now is there needs to be a referendum, first of all, at the soonest possible convenience. And I do think it should be stated, should the presidency be abolished? Number one. Or should we reform the presidency? What I mean by that is that any citizen of the country should be allowed to vote. Because what's happening at the moment is, it's what we've seen in this election too, that the mainstream political parties blocked candidates from getting the council. Take, for example, in council elections, they blocked them from getting in that route. And then obviously even the Dáil elections, they were kind of told not to vote for any other candidate but themselves. So pretty much something drastically has to change there. And the only way you can do that is by a referendum because it's in the constitution in terms of what the president, in terms of the role, how the president's elected, etc. You would have to go to the people. And I'd be in favour of it if the presidency was reformed. But the majority think what I would want, that I would want to abolish the presidency. I think that's the best course of action for the Irish people because there's too much money. There's hundreds of millions been spent in the presidency a year, 300,000 on the president's salary alone. Not to mention, etc., all the expenses, allowances, flights, all the whole shebang, the staff. It's insane amount of money. So it all should be abolished, people, in my opinion, because it serves no purpose. It's only a cushy number. And the president has literally no authority, no power really, apart from the laws of the land, signs in the laws of the land. But that's my opinion, that it should go to the people. Should we abolish the presidency at the next election? Or should we reform the presidency that you and I, even though only Joes like Tiff Sapper, you or me, can go off and put ourselves forward for the presidency? Maybe you could say they need the backing of one or two politicians or whatever, but not like Tretty. Tretty is a bit unreachable, especially if you're not a mainstream candidate, if you're an independent, etc. It's very hard to reach that. It's mainly favouring the political parties, as you've seen in this election. Catherine Connolly is not an independent, first of all. Sinn Féin, the Labour Party, Social Democrats got a win. That's what happened. Yeah, it's very good. It's very good to see. I'm happy to see it. I didn't say it before the election, but I was happy. It was the right course of action for the Irish people. It's a good kick up the hole. Excuse my language, but it's a good kick up the hole to the government because they needed a good kick up the hole. They need an even bigger kick up the hole, but they needed to kick up the hole because it shows that people are not happy, and that's the only way to show it. Because protesting, etc., on the streets, etc., pretty much has got people nowhere for the last few years. Shouting as loud as you could from the rooftops has got people nowhere, and the only way to do it is to show them up. And that's what people did today. Instead of protesting on the streets and stuff, because again, the government could just put that aside and just say, we don't see it. We're blind. We can't see it, and just ignore all that. But this, with the election, they can't really ignore it. They can't really ignore 200,000. They kind of have to address the elephant in the room. They kind of been forced and they've been embarrassed into doing it. So that's the best thing. That's the best course of action. To embarrass them, because I'm literally looking at articles from the United States of America at the moment. And the first thing, instead of there's a new president, the first thing is historical. I can see from the Chicago Times. Historic presidential election knowledge, massive amounts of spoiled votes. That's the article. That's the headline around the world. Huge spoiled votes. The Irish public rejects the system, pretty much. There's many other things I see from even the UK. Huge amount of spoiled votes in Irish presidential election. Like, that's the main headline across the world. The Irish people rejected the system and basically told them in the nicest possible terms to stick it up the hole, in the nicest possible terms. Because that's pretty much what was said. The government should stick their votes up the hole, in the nicest possible terms. But that's what people are voting for. Yeah. So, and that's it's not that Catherine Connolly won it or etc. It's about the spoiled votes. And even just take this up, there's other articles I can see here saying about the amount of people who are at home. There's loads of other people who registered to vote and didn't vote. And it just goes on and on and on. This, but it's embarrassing to the government. It's embarrassing. I think that's a shame in the government. And it's a good kick up the hole for them. And it's about time, if you ask me. So that's a long statement, but But all in all, my whole thoughts on it is that it's good that the Irish people said no and told them to go and stick to election. In a lot of cases, because 200,000 people did do it. Yeah, but like in one, what was it? Dublin went down, did I say to you? Yeah, that was what you were saying. There was only 2,000 spoiled votes. That's the lowest in the country, but every other part of the country literally had so many spoiled votes. It was insane. Like even just here in Cavan, it's insane that 6,400 people went out to spoil the votes, including me. But it's quite insane to think about it. But yeah, if you said this 3 or 4 years ago, people would have thought you were mad, saying that people would go out. Because I even heard it myself. People even said it to me, like on YouTube comments and stuff. You're mad to go out and spoil your vote. Why would you spoil your vote? I had literally one person from some country in Europe. I think it was either Belgium or the Netherlands or something like that. They were like, "Why would you bother spoiling your vote? You could do anything else better with yourself than going out to spoil your vote." Yeah, but this is the thing, as I was just saying there. It's very embarrassing. It's very embarrassing, as you can see across the world. It's very embarrassing for the government. It's very, very embarrassing. It shows the people are not happy. It won't change the system, but we kind of have to be forced to change it. Because, say, for example, the next general election comes around, and say this happens again, that people just spoil the votes in droves. Um, that's what I'm saying. It can keep going from here. But it's the only way you're going to be listened to, unfortunately. Because, like, seeing the amount of protests, people are protesting every day of the week about direct provision centres in Ireland, and they're being ignored. And the only way to do it is at the ballot box, unfortunately. Because you see, at the moment, this will be talked about for the next 6 or 7 months, nearly. Like, just looking at the international press, like, the main thing has been talked about is the amount of spoiled votes. Because I never heard of it in any country in the world that 200,000 people went out to spoil the vote. Because it shows that people are deeply very frustrated, and you can't really ignore that. It'd be different only if 10 people turned up to spoil the vote, but it's a lot of people. 230,000 people, it's a lot of people. And then if you count Jim Gavin's votes, that's nearly 400,000 people. It's a lot. But yeah, the system is very frustrated at the moment. But yeah, something would definitely change in terms of the presidency, how the president's elected, etc. But we don't know what could change after that. But mainly, too, it's a vote of confidence in the government, because Heather Humphrey's basically was one on the government record and what the government did, and pretty much that shows you what the government has done. But Catherine Connolly's no better, because pretty much she is in the government. Like any party that's in the dollar, maybe exception of AIM too, an independent Ireland maybe, and a few independents maybe. The majority of them are no good. Sinn Féin, the Labour Party, Social Democrats, the no addition. Simple as that, the no addition. The only parties that have opportunity to kind of be some addition to the country is into. Into can be some addition if they wanted to be. If they wanted to, if the candidates decide to become some addition. Because at the moment in time, people in Into, a lot of them are too afraid to speak up about many things. And the same with independent now. They say some stuff now and again, but they're simply too afraid, if that makes any sense. And they've been kind of cohorted down a small part, if that makes any sense. But they have opportunity to, like, the best of a bad bunch, if that makes any sense. But Sinn Féin, Social Democrats, the Labour Party, they're no addition to the country. As simple as that. The same as Fianna Fáil, they get no addition to the country. And the Green Party too. Spoiling your vote is sad. I know it is sad. It is. I didn't want to have to spoil my vote. I would have wanted to be here at the moment saying I voted for Maria Stevenson or Nick Delahanty even. I would have voted for any of them. Suppose I would have voted for any of them. I would even vote for the Man in the Moon if the Man in the Moon put his same name forward. I didn't want to have to spoil my vote, but I had no other option. I wasn't going to vote for. I was either going to vote for Heather Humphreys, which I would have been mad to do. First of all, to vote for Fine Gael, or I would have been voting for Catherine Connolly. That like, let's be fair, Catherine Connolly. Why would I vote for Catherine Connolly? There's no option. Like, I didn't have any liking for any of the candidates. Heather Humphreys, I met her a few times, and I know her decently well. Obviously, being in my constituency and stuff like that. But still, at the same time, she's not like going to hit you in the face or anything like that for saying something bad to her. Because oftentimes I argue about it with different things. But at the same time, too, I simply can't trust them with the one like being in the presidency, because the reason is Heather Humphreys has been in government for the last few years. Yeah, Ela Buck. Like, just speaking about that, I wrote down on my list. People's voted SpongeBob SquarePants. People voted for Dustin the Turkey. People voted for. There was a photo in Monaghan voted for Donald Trump. So there you go. Yeah, but what I think should happen too. Hear me out for a second. Just hear me out. Just listen to me for 2 seconds. I try and explain this to the best of my ability. But I do think the one thing that should be added to this country, I've seen in some countries, that the way, say for example, I'll just show you. Say for example, this is um the ballot. Say for example, this is the election now. So say for example, this is Jim Gavin, Heather Humphreys, and Catherine Connolly, right? And this is the box where you vote here. But there should be a line here. There should be a line right underneath the ballot. Say for example, if this was this election, there should be a line here. Say for example, you can put whoever you want in. So pretty much who you recommend that should be president of Ireland. So say for example, I vote for whoever, right? Say for example, I just vote for whoever. That's what I think should happen. So to be the candidates, right? But you should have a choice of who you want to vote for, like any citizen of the country. I do think that they do that in some countries, that they let you like put somebody's name down, like a valid vote for, say for example, Eli Buck. Say for example, 100,000 people went out and said, "I'm going to vote for Eli Buck," but Eli Buck like didn't go through the process, but got the election by people put their name down. If that makes any sense, I don't know. Do you agree with that? Because that would be something we could look at as a system. So, say for example, any person could just be put down. I know people probably wouldn't vote for any of the candidates, but yeah, but Heather Humphreys, it didn't really work out for Eli Buck and them because quite literally she only won Cavan and Monaghan. She didn't win anywhere else. But it's absolutely insane to be told as Eli Buck and them. It's Stockholm syndrome, if you ask me. And I have respect for Eli Buck. He's done a lot. And he's going through a lot in terms of that. But the thing about it is, like, Heather Humphreys was in the government. Like, Heather Humphreys wasn't just a backbencher. Like, she was in the government every time he went to prison, etc. And he's in prison. Like, she was in the cabinet. She was on the table, at the cabinet. And she never spoke about, we should pardon Eli Buck, or we should do this, or we should speak up for Eli Buck. I never heard her say one thing about it. So I don't get it. But I suppose it's a democratic right if he wishes to. But I wouldn't vote for any of them. I would have spoiled my vote. I wouldn't encourage people to spoil their vote if I was in his position. But he's perfectly entitled, as I say, the same as the mother, the same as the father, to use their democratic right to choose who they want to vote for. But if I was in his position after if I was going through what he did, I wouldn't have voted for Heather Humphreys. Wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have voted for Catherine Connolly either. Just my personal opinion. Again, I don't want to be saying you must do this to somebody, because at the end of the day, I'm not that person. It's not my right to say you must do this or you must do that. That's why I didn't. Same before the election and stuff. Now I'm speaking about how I felt about the election and stuff. Beforehand, I was kind of giving hints, if that makes any sense. I didn't really say too much. But the thing about it was, there were so many people online saying you must vote against this or you must vote for this or you must do it, like putting pressure on people to vote. Even though, I don't agree with Catherine Connolly and I don't agree with Heather Humphreys, to be totally honest with you. People still had the right to go and vote for them. I wasn't going to say to somebody, you must vote for this candidate, because it wouldn't be fair. It's not fair to force somebody to vote for somebody they don't want to vote for, Yeah, he didn't do well in his own area, yeah. But yeah, no, but this is the thing. Like, she can pretty much do nothing. Like, as president too, I was saying to the show on early on, like, she can do nothing pretty much. The presidency, she can sign laws and stuff, but pretty much the government do a lot of the stuff. So pretty much she's a puppet of the government, pretty much, because the government tell you what to say and what to do and etc. Pretty much. And she can't really say much. The Constitution says it very clearly that the president really has not really much of a say in anything, in terms of speaking publicly. Like, Michael D. Higgins pushed the limit on a few things in terms of gas and in terms of neutrality and stuff. Like, the president's really not supposed to be political, pretty much what I'm trying to say. But still, at the same time, it's an opportunity to show the government that we're not accepting their narrative, if that makes any sense. We're not accepting their running of the country. And that's what happened in this election. It's a pity, again, as I said, I would have rather voted for somebody. It's the first time I've ever spoiled my vote. I don't go out every year and spoil my vote whenever the election is. I always want to vote. And I wanted to vote. I said it before even the election. I wanted to vote for some candidate. I would have voted for any other. I would have probably even voted for Garrett Sheldon, even though what he came out with today about people need digital IDs to pretty much go online and stuff. Yeah, but I will, like, in fairness, one thing I will say, I will congratulate Catherine Connolly. I will give her, the best wishes and stuff for the hours and her campaign. I know people who voted for Catherine Connolly too, And I wish them well. They're probably happy tonight. So in fairness, I'm not going to sit here and say, you know, throw my hands and say I don't care and stuff like that. I wish them well. I do wish them well. Catherine Conley stuff. I'm not going to be ignorant and stuff like that, I suppose, in that way. I do wish them well on her role as Uachtar on the Helen. And of course, our campaign and people that voted for. I do congratulate them, of course. Even though I was a part of Spoil Your Folk campaign, I suppose, in the way. But I still would say congratulations, though, I suppose. Even though I don't agree with her and I don't agree with Heather Humphreys, but I still would have said, regardless of who won, that, fair play and best of luck, I suppose. Oh no, it's the Helsinki. So yeah, that was Helsinki, Colin. Uh, Even though I didn't vote for Catherine Conley, basically a few people I know in Helsinki sending best wishes to the people of Ireland on the new president. So there you go. It's late in Helsinki. It's what am I doing? It's 10:37, isn't that right? 10. No, it's 10:38. Yeah, isn't it? Can't think of it. What time is it actually? I should know, but it's about 10:37, I think. 2 hours ahead. Am I stupid? Probably am. Where's my phone? But no, that's what that was about. Basically, just wishing the people of Ireland the best. A few people I knew over there just thought about the election, etc. First thing they asked me about was the spoil the photo because it's been reported in Yal on the Finnish national broadcaster about it. About the spoil the votes and Ireland's new president. So that was pretty much in the Finnish media. It's been said about the amount of spoiled votes that's happening at the moment. I don't know if it was a Yal actually. I don't see it on Yal, but I think it was one of the Finnish media that it's on the Finnish media at the moment about the spoiled votes and stuff. So pretty much it's been well talked about. As I said, that's the main headline. It's not the new president; it's the amount of spoiled votes and stuff. So, but that's who was calling because I've seen it like pop up Helsinki and stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, that's Helsinki, Finland. And I was like, oh yeah, that's that. Resigning as elect. Yeah, we're doing the Finn. They're going to blame the Finns for this. So yeah, it is 10:38 in Finland at the moment in Helsinki. No, the basically the only thing was said was first of all the person I know very well. He was saying about congratulations on Ireland's new president first of all, and then he was like, oh yeah, a lot of people weren't happy. That's the way he kind of phrased it. The people weren't happy with the amount of spoiled votes, and I was like, how do you know this? And he was like, yeah, one of the Finnish like online news outlets was talking about it. Like in the article and stuff, they made an article about it. You know the way we kind of talk about too. presidential elections and stuff. So, part of the Wikipedia. We're looking at we're all talking about Finland now all of a sudden. So we went from the Irish presidency election. Let's talk about Finland. How did we get there? But no, that's what happened. So apologies about that. The only reason why they're rang now, because if they left it any longer, it would have been far too late. Because it is literally nearly 11 o'clock in Helsinki at the moment. It's near enough. But it'd be later on. So basically, this was the only opportunity they could ring now. And pretty much Pioneer is reporting now. And I don't know if it's on Yal. But it was nice of them to call to congratulate us on our new person, even though I didn't vote for our new person. But still, nonetheless, it's been reported in some of the Finnish media, not on Yal particularly, but on some of the other, what they call a latte, I think it is, Latte. That's what's been reported. And particularly, it's just even looking at other articles. It's all about the spy votes, everything. So we're just a quick up the whole. It's not about the elections, more about the spy votes at this stage. But yeah, I don't know. Like the person that I was talking to there, they would be in the Social Democrats, in Finland. They're part of the Social Democratic Party. And it's originally from Tampere and stuff like that. So they would be very pro Sanna Marin, So I don't know what their personal feelings would be about Catherine Connolly. They probably would be in favour of it. They're all gone beans. That's the way I see it. That's why I said fuck the whole lot of it. Time to spoil the vote. Time to cut us, they say. But no, in fairness, I congratulate Catherine Connolly. Yeah, but see, this is the thing. She can't attend anything, like until the government tell her. Like she said, she wants to go to Palestine as president. But this is the thing. She can't go to Palestine unless the government say, yes, you can go to Palestine. Because as it says in the Constitution, the president has to be available to the government. So pretty much that she has to get the consent of the government to go to Palestine or to Israel. Because, take for example, the reason that is the government have legislation. Take for example, now in the morning, the government will pass some legislation. The president has to be there to sign that legislation into law. So the government basically will tell her when to go and when she can go and when she can't go and what she can do. So basically, she can't just go rogue and go off to Palestine. Even though, to be totally honest, there was more talk about Palestine. And of course, what's happened in Palestine is a travesty and stuff. But I've seen more Palestine flags around Catherine Connolly than Irish flags. Like, I nearly would suggest that she would nearly take down the Irish tricolour of Áras an Uachtaráin and put up the Palestinian flag in Áras an Uachtaráin. And of course, what happened, don't get me wrong, what happened in Palestine, what Israel done to people in Palestine, is pure evil. There's no doubt about it. But literally making it the main thing, But actually, speaking about the Tony Blair Institute, it's not busting at the moment. I'll show you now in a second, but Sanna Marin did speak about sovereignty before. I think it was one time when Ukraine war did happen, that she did say if Russia tried anything, that Finland would defend its own sovereignty and its own independence. If Russia tried funny business, she did say Finland, will defend its sovereignty as a sovereign, independent country. She did say that in one of the things after Russia did what they did in Ukraine. So, in fairness, she's kind of come out more strongly about sovereignty than Micheál Martin. And then what she said in Dublin too, that countries must be able to defend itself, etc., etc. So you can pretty much assume that she's not really off that opinion, I don't think. Going by them statements, as far as I know. But who? Which? Oh, Catherine Connolly, you're talking about? I heard that word about a lot about Catherine Connolly. That's inspiring, etc. Bosca. Evito. Evito. Where the fuck am I? Sorry. Evito. Oh, Catherine Connie. Yeah, like she is old. Like she is 68. Like it is. But I suppose, like a lot of people who are present are old people. Sorry, give me a moment. I'm trying to find who I am. Like you see, even in America too, like the majority of people are old people. But the funny thing was, a lot of young people, Irish young people, voted for Catherine Conley, which is insane. To be totally honest with you, if they wanted to get really good young people, young person's vote, they should have probably put Holly Collins, because a lot of young people like Holly Collins. You might be surprised, but a lot of young people do. I've often heard people say about Holly Collins, but they were talking about Mary Lou McDonald, but Mary Lou wouldn't have won anyway regardless. Hello, Little England, I think it is. I can't see your name, but hello, I think that's who it is. Hello, how are we doing? Yeah, we're just at a presidential election. It's a big, long story. Like, you hear it for the next few days on my channel, talk, because there's a lot to talk about. Just give me a second. Sorry, I'm just looking for someone. But there's a lot to be said. Let's put out about the election. Of our Uachtaráin ní Hielan. Give me a moment, sorry. Just a lot of stuff going on. The IFA, yeah, they should be just disbanded at this stage and got rid of. We need to cut. Where was this? Mein God. Yeah. It was like a trendy college. Yeah, but this is the thing. Like a lot of young people feel this advantage because obviously, if you have someone that's ancient, let's be fair. Like you see U.S. politics, like you see senators in the Senate in the United States, they're fucking ancient. Excuse my language, but Mitch McConnell and stuff like that is fucking ancient. He's about 80 years old and stuff like that. And the senators there is just fucking in their 90s. Like God Almighty, like Jesus Christ. Like let's be fair, there should be probably an age gap on people like that age. Like let's be fair. Because let's be fair, when I get probably by the time I get the pension age, they'll walk me to a drop dead. But yeah, like a lot of young people would feel very disadvantaged because let's be fair, it's a very different Ireland than what Catherine Conley grew up in a few years, like back 40, 50 years ago. It's a very different Ireland than it is today. Things are more tougher actually now than probably back years ago, even though things were tough years ago. But things made sense. Nowadays, society's just fucking crazy. So the Tony Blair Institute is not doing well. It's lost millions of euro this year, millions of pounds, may I say. So they're going to cut a lot of staff. The institute lost the 4.3 million euros in 2024, so they're losing a lot of money. The Tony Blair Institute. Now they were saying about they might get rid of Santa Mountain, but that's not going to happen because the only thing that's keeping the Tony Blair Institute relevant is Santa Mountain. There's literally nobody else in the Tony Blair Institute water dam. But it has quite a lot of staff, 900 employees. It's a lot of people working for it. But yeah. But only for Santa Mountain, it would have probably failed a long time ago. So that's just like a fact at this stage that it would have just collapsed the Tony Blair Institute probably last year. So only for Santa Mountain, I think that's the only person keeping it together, the Tony Blair Institute, for better or for worse. Yeah, don't ask the Social Democrats for that. You never get an answer to that. It's one of those things you never get an answer. But yeah, if you ever want to know the Social Democrats, your councillor, Social Democrats councillor, just mention that, and then you won't have to deal with them for much longer. Yeah, I don't like Tony Blair. I have respect for Santa Mountain, but I would have rather her, and I've said this before, I would have rather her start her own institution. Not an institute, like not a mental institution, of course, but like you get what I'm saying. I don't think she should have joined Tony Blair. And I say that as a supporter of her. I don't think she should have. But at the end of the day, it was her own opinion. And I support her, I suppose, for her own having that opinion. But I don't think it was right to do, like, to join the Tony Blair Institute. But I think only for her being there, it would have been gone a long time ago. To be totally honest with you. Terence McSweety, yes. The former Lord Mayor of Cork. We're long days past that, just thinking about it. They had people that done everything for Ireland. We're long past them days, unfortunately, of them great men and women. We don't have greatness like that nowadays in this country, unfortunately. If we had people even like Thomas McSweeney, as you say, Arthur Griffin too, even Patrick Pearse, James Connolly even too, the country would be fixed within a week. Let's put it that way. But we don't have the leaders that we did. Culture's mouth fixed it was happened too. If we had people like that around the country, we'd be fixed in 5 weeks, quite literally. But we don't. We have spineless people who have no soul. That's the politics in this country, and that's what the majority of Irish people have taken. I'm not the only one saying it. There's 200,000 Irish people saying it. That we have soulless politicians who have sold themselves to the European Union, to the World Economic Forum, etc. They've sold their soul. They've sold the soul of this country too. Not just their own soul. They've sold the people. They sold the people's soul to the force of evil. I suppose that's what I. And that's why people came out and told them, "Fuck you," Yeah, like Michael Collins, give us a future which we can live to grow old in and live to love, etc. Michael Collins is one of the best for this country. And he gave his life for this country. It's like there's no doubt about it in Irish history. That the majority of Irish people think Michael Collins is the greatest Irish person that ever lived in Irish history. There's no doubt about it. There's literally no doubt about it that nobody. I don't think any Irish person will ever dispute that Michael Collins is up, like it's the most well-known Irish person in history. But yeah, no, Michael Collins had big ideas. He had big ideas of the future of this country. And I think we would have got our 6 counties back sooner. We would have had them probably back at this stage if Michael Collins would have lived. It's an unfortunate thing, but that's what happened. Hello, James. Good evening again. I seen you earlier on. How are you doing now? Just one big Day Late Show audience. Yeah, it's just kind of like you're just kind of watching this place. But a lot of people showed the establishment a lot today. Like showed them the door pretty much in a lot of ways. But yeah, as you know yourself, 213,000 people spoiled their vote, which is insane. I never heard of it in any country that so many people spoiled the vote, including me. But so many people feel disenfranchised. It's the same with people that didn't turn up to vote too. They feel very disadvantaged. Yeah, a lot of people are not happy campus today. Well, a lot of people are not happy in general. And I wouldn't blame them in terms of the housing situation, mainly immigration. What we've seen in a lot of ballots was immigration that was the biggest thing, particularly what happened City West. But housing too, of course, and then health and then other stuff too. People weren't happy. I've seen one person draw a big house like on a ballot. Like somebody actually went to the effort to draw a house, and it was well detailed. I wish I still had that drawing, but the amount of votes and stuff, spoiled votes and stuff. But yeah. But no, I'm happy with it. I'm happy with. I don't regret my decision, to be totally honest, to spoil my vote. And I don't think I ever will. I think I done the right thing. Like I thought about it for a long time, and I think I did the right thing. And I do feel that down on my soul that I did the right thing. That I stood up for my principles. Because I would have been forcing myself to vote for one of the two candidates, and you can't force yourself to do something, particularly when it comes to that. So I've done the right thing. My conscience is clear in terms of that. And I think we sent a great message. So that's the main thing. and hopefully some good can come out of it. That's the main thing I want to see in some shape or form. Some small change would be better than no change, even if it's just to change the presidential system. You know, but I would rather change in the country as a whole, in terms of the immigration system, in terms of other stuff too, the health system, etc. Hello there, Fiona. Good evening. How are we doing now? Are we well? I'm sure you heard the news. Also, we got a call from Helsinki. I've been watched. My masters, excuse me, have sent another check into my bank account, allegedly, of course. We couldn't. Yeah, but a lot of people didn't take the bait. You know, uh, like a lot of people didn't take the bait, like from the government and stuff. Like you seen that with the Fine Gael vote is basically non-existent in a lot of cases. Like a lot of people didn't take the bait. Like that's what I'm trying to say. A lot of people just didn't vote and stuff. Yeah, Catherine Connolly is the new Uachtar on the hair and the TED president of Ireland. She is the new president of Ireland, the TED president, for the next 7 years or so. But yeah, so 213,000 people spoiled the vote. 200,000, sorry, 200,000 people spoiled the vote. And then Jim Gavin got 103,000, which I think a lot of people meant to spoil the votes in that. But Catherine Connolly is the new president, yeah. Heather Humphrey's got about 500,000 or so votes. She only won one constituency, which is Cavan, and basically Catherine Connolly carried the rest of the country. Hoist the red flag. But pretty much, just even thinking about the red flag and stuff, just even thinking about it. Michael Higgins, the incumbent president, is a part of the Labour Party. So pretty much he's a socialist too. So it's not much difference. You're just replacing one socialist with another socialist, pretty much. So the red flag is not going anywhere. The red flag's staying there, you know, if that makes any sense, yeah, green face. Because he was, like, Michael Higgins is a Labour Party man. Like, he's a Labour man. He's a Labour man. Allegedly, of course. Well, of course, it's not allegedly. He won fucking at the door. Um, so, yeah. So, yeah. Yeah, well, hopefully something to change in the presidential election, but we see what happens. Well, there's a lot to talk about. I probably will put up videos just talking about it in detail because there's a lot I could say about different aspects. If I will address each thing that happened because there's a lot I have to say. We see before the election, I didn't say much. I didn't want to be seen to, you know, the way YouTube skylines do. You can't really force people to vote and stuff. You can't really force people to do whatever. But you know, I didn't want to tell people what to do. Yeah, so you're not really having a new red flag, if that makes any sense. Do you get my point? Yeah, it's not like it's a new thing. Like, take for example, you had an ultra conservative, uh, like president before, right? Take for example, Eamon De Valera, was very ultra conservative. Take for example, Eamon De Valera comes out now, and Catherine Connolly goes in. You know, it'd be a very big difference, but pretty much there's no difference because Michael Higgins pretty much was that Catherine Connolly represents. Maybe to a certain degree here and there, maybe difference, but pretty much they pretty much agree nearly on everything, apart from maybe one or two other things, to a certain degree. That's what I would nearly suggest. You know, I could be wrong, but that's what I'm seeing for Catherine Connolly. But yeah, Michael Higgins is still there for the moment. He's there until the 11th. Yeah, Dublin Midwest, yeah. Like across the country too, is huge amount of spy votes. Um, like in Cavan, you not know 6,000 spied votes. It was insane. Like they couldn't count them all because it was that many. Sorry, give me a second. Just messaging this person. Yeah, it's nippy. I was out there for a few minutes just before I went live. It's nippy, but it's not that bad. It could be. It should be probably a bit colder this time of year. But it's given a cold week next week, I think. So it could be snow. Um, but yeah, I think we might leave it there for tonight. I probably will put up a video, just giving my initial thoughts and stuff of what the whole shebang. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's it all done and dusted, thankfully. We'll probably make a video too. First of all, just talking briefly what the overview, probably in that video and stuff, and then I talk about what should be the response to this campaign of responding your vote, etc. What the government should do to try and make amends. They have a lot to do to make amends with people, Irish people, but they could try and start, I suppose. So yeah, we have to talk about all that. Like even in the most fanciest areas of Dublin, there's still a huge amount. But yeah, so it is a huge victory. The way I see it, it's a victory for the Irish people. That's the way I see it. It's a victory for the Irish people that the Irish people have told the establishment to go fuck themselves. Excuse me in language, but that's pretty much what happened. Like a lot of people felt very disheartened, felt disrupted by the state, and showed the cards, I suppose. Now, any plans ahead? What plans ahead? What we're not planning to take over Leitrim yet. That's for another day, as Bertie Howen famously said. But we might actually have something coming up now the next day or two. There's something else coming up. I might talk about it tomorrow. I might come on for a few minutes tomorrow live to talk about it. I might meet people to help me out. I'm getting hoarse now from talking too much today. But I might meet people to help me out with it. So we'll see what happens. If people are willing to help me out with it. But it's nothing too major. Yeah, like there's a lot of artwork and stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of that. Like we'll be looking at for the next 6 or 7 months and stuff that was on ballot papers. Yeah, but even regardless of what area you're in, there's no really denying 200,000 votes. There's no way really looking around that. It'd be different if it's only 5 spoiled votes, but you can't really ignore that. The media will do their best, but you can't really ignore that. That's the thing. Jeremy Corbyn has put up a thing saying about it, the former Labour leader. But anyway, that's it for tonight. I will put up a video now. We talk about tomorrow. What should be done to change the election process in the presidency, etc. We'll talk about all that tomorrow. But we'll just put up a brief video, just giving my initial thoughts on the whole lot. The Democratic, yeah, but it's a start. That's what it's a start. It's a start of change. If that makes any sense. But yeah, so we just have to see what happens, I suppose, from here. But it's a start. It was better than kind of sitting at home and doing nothing. If that makes any sense. Because at least you're kind of giving the 2 fingers to the established. That's the way I see it. I know what you're saying. I get what you're saying. But it's better to give the 2 fingers, if that makes any sense. Because sitting at home and stuff is not really going to change anything. So at least something productive happened, if that makes any sense. But anyway, let me know what you think anyway. I'll leave you still for the moment. We'll probably be back tomorrow for a while, so I'll see you then. Take care, everyone. A good night and enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you.